After week 9 of the NFL season, I think it is safe to say that the AFC North has become a super division. Not only do you have the lowest ranked team being 5-3, still the only NFL division to have every team above 500, and 5-3 is well above 500. It was another week for the AFC North in which every team that played a game, which was all four, they all won. No losses for any AFC North team this week. So let's talk about how we got there. Starting with the still division leading Baltimore Ravens, 7-2 overall, 2-1 in the division. They destroyed the Seahawks, final score of 37-3, and after a scoreless first quarter, pretty much all Baltimore the rest of the way there. I can't really come up with any sort of counter argument to the idea that the Baltimore Ravens are the most complete team in this division, at least right now. You know, their recent results have been amazing. Their last 2 of their 3 games have been blowouts over the Lions and now obviously the Seattle Seahawks, neither of those being bad teams. They now have a bit of a cushion in the AFC North, so no matter the results of this week, whether whoever wins or loses in the AFC North, they will still be first in the division, at least until after week 10. The offense has all the tools that are needed. The wide receiver room has been improved greatly over the past season. Zay Flowers and OBJ have been really solid additions, maybe a little bit pricey on OBJ, but yeah, that was the price to bring him in, and I don't think his contributions on the field have been bad or anything, maybe just a little bit pricey. But again, that wide receiver room is definitely revamped. You already know what you have in Mark Andrews at tight end there. Despite losing J.K. Dobbins again, Gus Edwards and Lamar Jackson keep the running game as a constant threat to throw defenses off. Ravens defense, somehow the better unit of the two. Geno Stone getting another interception. He leads the NFL with 6 so far this season. Ravens generated 4 sacks, with Kyle Van Noy with having 2. Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen, they speak for themselves on the unit. It's a struggle to talk about the Ravens defense really at length, because what everything boils down to is that they're just really good, which is a theme across the AFC North. Basically all 4 defenses has shown a lot of good chops this season, and they play Cleveland in a divisional game this week. It kind of feels like the AFC North had a lot of divisional games early and then kind of took a bit of a hiatus, but Cleveland and Baltimore play each other next week. That game is in Baltimore, so you figure they're definitely going to be major favorites going in, especially considering what happened the last time these two teams played. Then you move on to the second place Pittsburgh Steelers, 5-3 overall, 2-0 within the division. They beat the Titans on Thursday Night Football 20-16 at home. I just feel like every week I'm a bit unsure of what this team is in terms of how good they are or how far they can go. But what I do know is this team is pretty clutch. If you give them a chance when the chips are down in the fourth quarter, when you need something, the Steelers will come up with some way to get the result that they need. That's a similar scenario to what we saw last Thursday, where they go into the fourth quarter trailing by 3, and then all of a sudden something clicks with the Steelers team and it's a whole new game for them. The offense, once that fourth quarter hits, the offense had a flow to it. Kenny Pickett gets dialed in and they send the Pittsburgh crowd home happy with a W. It wasn't over the best of competition in the Tennessee Titans, even though I do think Will Levis at quarterback definitely makes them a better team by virtue of just not being Ryan Tannehill and what he was this season. So the Titans not exactly the best team, but again, it's just the matter of getting a W every Sunday. It doesn't really matter who you're playing against. If the offense could have that kind of consistency that they've shown in fourth quarters for the rest of the game, they'd be in the clear. I think they'd be up there with the Ravens in terms of how we talk about this team, but I feel like the issue persists to be just Matt Canada. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Him and this offense definitely lower the ceiling for this team tremendously. Like, you know, I could definitely see a scenario where the Pittsburgh Steelers make the playoffs, but I'm not quite sure what they could do in them with that lack of consistent offensive firepower. But the Pittsburgh defense has been solid in pretty much every game. You know, there were a couple of blowout losses, but besides that, besides those 2 blips, they've been really solid this year. Offense just can't really say the same for. And the Pittsburgh Steelers definitely have decent weapons at the skill positions. I mean, George Pickens has done incredible things. Deontay Johnson good there as well. Pat Freiermuth, you have Najee Harris. It's just been an issue that they've just barely ever been able to put it together for a full 60 minutes this year. The Steelers, they play against the Packers in Pittsburgh. Definitely a very winnable game there. So we might be seeing a 6-3 Steelers team by the end of next week, which is not something that many expected. I feel like a lot of people were coming into this season anticipating the Steelers kind of falling off a little bit, but so far their record does not indicate that. Then you have the third place Browns, also 5-3. It's going to be a common theme. The next team's 5-3 also. 1-2 within the division. They pitch a shutout against the Cardinals. It was a 27-0 victory. A game that I did talk about on Sunday after that game happened. Deshaun Watson was the starter, actually did last the entire game this time. He was pretty solid. He had his best throw in a Browns uniform, in my opinion, to Amari Cooper down the sideline, but he did take a bit of time to get any sort of rhythm going. It was rough for the passing offense early in that game, although the Browns defense definitely had a very easy time with rookie quarterback Clayton Tune making his first NFL start. Defense notching 7 sacks and 2 interceptions. Dalvin Tomlinson alone had 3 sacks. Shelby Harris with a strip sack. Defensive tackles were especially busy in this one. I thought it was kind of funny that Phil Taylor, a big defensive tackle for the Browns, he was the pregame. He was like the pregame captain guy who smashes the guitar for the dog pound, all that fun stuff. And so it was nice to see the interior defensive line kind of mirror what Phil Taylor brought to the Browns for his time there. The Browns are getting a little banged up at offensive tackle at this point, which isn't a great thing if you're going to be playing against the Baltimore Ravens in that pass rush. Jed Wills put on IR. He was carted off of the field with an air cast, but he is expected to return this season, which when you see somebody go off in a cart in an air cast, you're fearing the worst, but thankfully, it does seem like Jed Wills is expected to return to the Browns at this point. DeJuan Jones, also a little iffy. He feels like he's been in and out of the past couple games, but he has stuck it out through some pain and some injuries to this point. So I feel like if DeJuan Jones can go, he definitely will. As I mentioned earlier in the video, the Browns, they played the Baltimore Ravens on the road this week, and I feel like for the Browns, in terms of contendership for the division, this is kind of a must-win game, as if the Browns lose, then the Ravens are 8-2. They kind of leave the Browns especially in the dust, depending on what Pittsburgh and Cincinnati does. But I don't think it would kill Cleveland's playoff chances or anything. You could still definitely make a wild card spot with a 5-4 record. You can turn it around, but I feel like if you're Cleveland, you definitely need to get a victory over Baltimore in order to have a realistic shot of winning the division by season's end. And then you have the Cincinnati Bengals, 5-3 overall, 0-2 in the division. They win over the Buffalo Bills on Sunday Night Football in Cincy. Final score 24-18. I feel like it's kind of getting safe to say that the Bengals are back, albeit again still in 4th place in the division, but that's kind of that definitely doesn't do them justice on how good they've been playing lately. I guess their MO is just like kind of start slow, get everyone a little bit concerned about the season in the early stages, and then find their form later on. I definitely would say that they're definitely the best last place team in the NFL, bar none. It definitely helps that Joe Burrow definitely appears to be back to full health. I don't think his calf is bothering him in any way right now. Jamar Chase dealing with a sore back after this game, and the Bengals, they have the wide receiver room to make up for it, but they would obviously rather him be in there for their next game. And after the game had kind of a bit of a rapid fire offensive start, I believe there were touchdowns on the first 3 drives, 2 for Cincinnati, 1 for Buffalo. Game kind of cooled off offensively. So while the Bengals, they've shown up a bit more in the mid stage of the season than they did a bit early in the year, I feel like the Bengals defense continues to be the unit that's carrying the solid performances for Cincinnati. They held the fort down while the offense was kind of stalling through the middle stages of that game. Bills offense just wasn't really able to get enough going in time, and the defense, they're certainly going to be tested by CJ Stroud and the Texans this week, as CJ Stroud, we all saw what he did, breaking the rookie quarterback record for passing yards and leading that crazy final game-winning drive. It looked like the Buccaneers had all but sealed that one. CJ Stroud coming back down the field basically in the snap of a finger and just leading the Houston Texans to a game-winning drive. We might have to see the Bengals keep up in a shootout, or again, maybe the Cincinnati defense will continue to kind of surprise us. I think coming into the season, we were looking forward to more seeing the Bengals offense pop out than the defense, but maybe the defense continues to stifle other teams, and the Houston Texans might not put up as much of a show as we're anticipating. But that's going to do it for this video. You can let me know down in the comments below what you think is going to happen with some of these AFC North games, how the divisional matchup go between the Ravens and the Browns. You can tell me in the comments below. Thank you for watching. If you didn't make it this far, leave a like and a subscribe if you enjoyed the video. And you'd like to see more like I do these AFC North updates every week. And I mostly talk about teams from Ohio that I like, but you can check the channel out, see if you want to stick around. But anyway, once again, thanks for watching. I'll see you at the next one.